Guess where you just got into? Cool guy zone.
Hi. Oh, it's been a couple weeks. Feels like longer, but it's been a couple weeks. Quick recap. Last time we poured the first part of this. Check. Very good. We poured the first part of this silicone mold in this mold box that I made out of monster clay. Inside this silicone is one of these guys, a little what's it? This one I think is 1/10 scale. Alien Facehugger. One of the bigger ones, I think 1/12 or something is in this. But that's besides the point. We're going to pull this guy out. We're going to flip it over, and we're going to take the monster clay slab on the bottom, put it on the other side, and then pour the second part of our two-part silicone mold into the monster clay. That's going to be first things first, which should go by just swimmingly since we ironed out all the kinks last time. Definitely not going to end up bleeding somehow for this one. Also, I have been toiling behind the scenes this whole time. We're going to get into that later, but just wanted to quickly out this. Yeah, let's just get into this then. So it only took overnight to cure all the way. It was still a little sticky on the top here, and also like a little, it didn't really cure all the way on the edge here where I kind of spilled a little bit. On the paper it's cure though. Here, look at this. What's this? Slag for you. Let's see if I can get some of the silicone off of the sides of the monster clay. I don't want to have to throw out any monster clay. Purify, or rather get impurities, in this case silicone, out of monster clay by heating it up and melting it and filtering it, but I don't think it's going to work too well with silicone. So then cause more problems and solve them. Anything crazy. Underneath just a little piece. Yeah, look at that. That's cool. All right, good. So it does peel right off of monster clay, which is good to know. I don't see why it wouldn't. The monster clay is oil-based and sulfur-free. I think it on purpose because of the way sulfur can interact poorly with silicone. Said, well, if people are going to use this with silicone, sulfur in it, can we? So they decided oil-based one. All of the stuff I've recorded using it so far has been pretty amazing. Lived up to the expectations, and I regret not cracking into this stuff sooner. Like I mentioned, I think a couple of times now, I bought this brick of monster clay years ago. Didn't use it for up until like a year ago, and then didn't use it again until now, which is what I tend to do. I have a problem with seeing something cool related to props or costume making or something like that. And, if it's a reasonable price, I usually just impulsively buy it. This guy off. gonna go off. Could just get another piece of paper, but been enough paper the last couple weeks on design stuff. So all right, so we're gonna crack into this. I'm gonna, as carefully as I can, remove the back of the mold. Try out our facehugger. I'm not wearing the lav mic right now. I got it hooked up to my overhead camera because I kept noticing editing the last vlog that every time the lav mic would have needed a shock mount like a normal mic. It was obvious by the bumps and booms that I was getting. So if I'm hearing that, you're hearing that. So I'm gonna have to tweak the lav mic somehow. Hopefully that didn't make too much weird noise. Trying to position the lav mic to be aimed more towards me, kind of like a shotgun mount. Okay, shotgun mic. What can we use? Use some of the silicone tools last time and determined that you get what you pay for. The silicone tipped tools, as cool as they are, and they look exactly like the ones I see everyone else making stuff on YouTube using. These ones from Amazon are cheap as hell. So, but the good part is the silver lining is it's not completely useless crap. Like I can mod this and make it better. So pop this guy out, pop this guy off, put some better glue in here, maybe even shorten this thing, put it back on there, pour a crap ton of glue in there, pop this guy back on, and then boom, like it was, you know, quality. Let's see. Here, this is something. A little spade. All right, let's just use this. So I do want to keep the seams if I can, or at least move material along them. So all I have to do is kind of clay weld this panel onto the other side to support the other half when I fill it with silicone. Also, I have to decide where I'm going to place the spout. Spout, I think it's considered a spout. What I'm going to pour, or at what point I'm going to pour the resin, introduce the resin to the mold cavity that it's going to fill. Facehugger. The only issue with that is because of this the thin spidery legs of the piece. Ooh, you know what? Might be easier. I'm not going to be able to. I don't know why I'm treating this like it's made of a solid material. I might need to dismantle the. No, in fact, I am going to have to dismantle the box and then just put it back together. I'm not gonna sit here and just excavate my little action figure out of this. So go ahead and take the easy route and take it apart. Not cut any silicone. Not cut any silicone. Yeah, there it is. There's a silicone mold in it. Very. Some rigid silicone. Oh yeah. Okay. It's kind of, look. Really just peel it out. Okay. I'm gonna peel the sides off very carefully. And I gotta take the backing off slowly because when I put this together, I built up the base of the box around. I don't want to move it too much out of its original positioning, so it's just easier to pop back into place. That's pretty cool, man. Not gonna lie. Here, hold on. Pretty cool. Solid. Just gonna take some isopropyl to the sides after the second part's poured. Clean up the silicone and some silicone that's still a little goopy, but I think that's just from a small drop that wasn't mixed early enough. Okay, so moment we've all been waiting for. So the way I embedded the facehugger in this clay, the facehugger is going to come out with it. I know that. So it's my concern is placing it back in. Sticking to the silicone a little bit. Oh, monster clay. That was stuck on the. Ah. Wow. That's so cool. It's kind of hard to see the amount of detail that the silicone picked up. A little closer with a little more light. Like, I know my lighting is terrible, but it picked up everything. And it's totally cured. No gooey, no putty, no drippy, nothing. I do have to go in and clean the clay out of it with isopropyl. But that's success right there, man. I was so scared because I've been watching videos on this stuff forever and just never actually doing it myself. And one of the things that I see happen all the time is you'll get these like freak chemical reactions where one material from one company and another material from another company that from other manufacturers, they completely meld and no problem, and there's no weird chemical reaction or adverse reaction or whatever. And then other times I've seen gallons of silicone and resin just get wasted because of a chemical reaction that it wasn't unanticipated and they couldn't have possibly known. So all of that was running through my head for the first time doing this. And got a fun little mold out of it. Granted, we are only 50% the way there, so there's no celebrating yet. But really, 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 really good start. Happy about that. Now, just going to do a little bit of cleanup work, and then we're going to get right back to it. So forgive me if I don't narrate every single little thing I'm doing because, yeah, you don't need to hear me audible chocolate voice the entire stream, do you? I would hope not. I need a little thing to put some. Never had like a little cup just ready to go. Sometimes I'm prepared, sometimes it's like it's my first day. Also, if anyone can recommend a hobbyist hobby desk or workbench organizer tools and such, especially like stuff that like goes in cups, like pens and pencils and brushes and stuff, or goes on like a pegboard. I could just get a pegboard. You know me. Not laziness, but it is laziness. So, before I put anything in this, there's all kinds of little monster clay specks, silicone, and that's no good. You got to get rid of that. So, I'm gonna take this old beat up toothbrush and isopropyl and just go to work. I'll have everything I need and be totally prepared for uh, everything I'm gonna do on live stream one. Oh, there's that paper cut. Hell yeah. Don't have to worry about heating anything up. Silicone is cured and tough. That doesn't mean I'm gonna go in here with anything tougher than a toothbrush. You really shouldn't need anything else. As long as I get like 99.9999 of the monster clay out of the silicone, that's good enough for me. So excited! I finally got to work with silicone after watching people do it for years. I was in. I'll admit, as excited as I was, and as much as I love watching the process of someone do this, it was intimidating. It was intimidating because I see the level, the skill level, and the quality of work that the makers that are doing this kind of stuff do. So I was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna, and this isn't bad. This isn't bad at all. I'm sure when I get to, if I ever, if no, when I get to bigger pieces, yeah, it's gonna be a little intimidating. Okay, not bad. I'm gonna put this aside for now. I'll clean that up a little bit more. But now I need to liberate. Come on. All that work putting this guy in the clay. Oh yeah, there we go. Wow. It was in there for a really long time. Oh wow, you can actually see where just the tiniest bit of silicone slipped in underneath the tail. But it doesn't look like it plugged up any of the detail. But you can see where I did not get it sealed, where the maquette met the silicone. If this were a bigger prop, you would 100% be able to see that in the final product. So it's good that I'm aware of it, but if I ever get to the point where I'm doing this stuff, if ever, professionally or commercially, that's not gonna fly. That's a no-no. That's gonna ruin a prop. That's gonna hold things up, and yeah. So this guy's got to get cleaned up, and he's got to get put back in the silicone so we can get gross underside. Little cleanup on him. He didn't. The underside didn't get it like mushed on it or anything, so the cleanup should be minimal. In fact, I didn't really press it in to the clay at all from top side, so there really shouldn't be. Just to get any debris. Oils from my hands, my fingers, anything like that. Sits in the silicone. The monster clay was kind of keeping it in such a position, which was not its resting position. I kind of manipulated the legs a little bit and the tail a little bit just to straighten it, so that everything I copy moving forward is gonna be the same way. But looking at him all that time in the monster clay formed him a little bit. This might be next. This one came with the Ultimate Big Chap 1/10. This came with the, I think this is the exact same mold. It's the exact same mold. Sold the exact same action figure. This one came with Big Chap. This one came with the Tiger. Also, while I'm on the subject, this maquette that I just mentioned, this one's going to be for face wearing prop that I'm making following the other Facehugger. The other one that I'm working on that you've seen me posting about probably is this one. This one's going to be the 1/12, and this one is going to be what I'm using for the crawler, just because it's a little more what's the word I'm looking for? The Figma, the Japanese sculptor who did the Figma figure, he took a little creative liberty with it, and he made it a lot more stylized. And I mean, you can kind of see it when you hold these two together, that one's a little more action figure-y, one's a little more screen accurate. So I'm going to use the more fun, interactive looking one for the one that's going to be the animatronic, and the more screen accurate one is going to be the one that's there on my face. No pressure. Back to work. Just gonna clean up the silicone a little bit more. Careful not to touch the inside. Lay the maquette back in the silicone. Do so in a manner that I don't touch the underside of it too much. I'm going to give it a quick brush with some IPA before I pour any silicone. This is just to make sure there are no. Oh, also, what I mentioned earlier, I have to decide how we're introducing resin into this. I think I started talking about it earlier, but I completely got sidetracked. The problem herein is that I got all these legs, these tiny little sewing needle thick legs, this tiny little prop. I'm worried about resin not finding its way into all of these little guys. So the easiest way to determine and to ensure that the resin goes into all of them is to have the resin be introduced to the mold from the tail, and with some kind of plunger actually forced into the mold to the tip of each finger. At the tip of each finger is going to be just a wire thick line out of the mold. And as long as I see 8 beads of resin pop out of the back of the mold where I put those pin needles or pinpoints, I'll know every single leg got filled with resin. How I'm going to do that, though, I haven't really 100% determined. I have an idea. It's just laying wire down at the tip of excuse me, wow, at the tip of each digit. I think I have somewhere a paper clip just enough up for the task. And it's not like I need a lot. Like, keep in mind, I only left a 1/4 of an inch clearance from the maquette to the end of the mold, to the surface of the mold, so the mold box rather. So I only need a little over a 1/4 of an inch of wire to accomplish that. I think I might even be, no, I can't. I was gonna say I could just cast it, finish the mold, and then once I'm done and before I put resin to make a copy, I just kind of poke holes in the silicone at each fingertip. But I don't think that's going to be enough because the silicone can kind of close in on itself. So I think it's better to just have the silicone form around a molded, what's the word? What's the word? Overflow? I don't know what the word is. I gotta look up my glossary of prop making. Keeping them in place. Let's see if I can just kind of. You know what I could do? I could lay. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna cut a piece of paper clip to length from the tip, the finger, and then bending, and then to the top. Right, so it's gonna be bent and then bent. Tape it to the outside of here. It stays in place. Able to place all of them, then yeah, I'll have a escape. Yeah, I'll have an escape vein vent, I guess. To put the base in place, I guess I can't. I can't put the base back, can I? Because I need that 1/4 inch to be occupied by silicone. Okay, so we're gonna modify the box just a little bit, but totally reusable, which is awesome. For a bigger project, I'm gonna have to make a box out of expanded PVC or even like ABS or something rigid enough to hold that much silicone. Remove too much because then I do have to replace some of it. Smooth some of it out. Some of the glue even, some of the clay even dried out a little bit. That's cool. There was a reaction. I'm gonna replace some clay. Maintain the relative. It's a pretty clean looking mold, considering. By that I mean sides are pretty lush and warm. Happy why. The rest of it can be smoothed over. Let's see. Oh. Oh, but you know what I can do? I can make a new one. Definitely do that. I don't know what to do with this guy. I might. The monster. Really dry. I didn't think it was supposed to do this. So I can make another. I keep forgetting I'm not wearing the lav mic. I'm so sorry if I've been going in and out of. Saved all of the. Saved all the clay slabs that we made a couple weeks ago. Guess I figured you never know. Here we are. Awesome. I can just go into this bag that I've got put aside, pick out a piece that's the right size, and just cut it to shape. I'm done, melt it, re-pour it, recut it, and use it again. Love it. and it didn't lose any like of its quality. After being basically liquefied. Not basically, it was. I need more than one paper. Yeah, desk, tool organizer. I need one. This one bit of silicone from, or not silicone, one bit of monster clay from the base of the mold. It get a little weird. Right out a little bit, but uh-oh. Ah, super. So, I'm just noticing now that the mic's not picking up a hell of a lot. I just know how much I bump around. I just don't want to like bump with my glasses too much, because if it's annoying to you, trust me, I have to listen to it later while I'm editing. Okay, so I'm going to complete the bottom. Yeah. Here. And let's get a tool. Pick a tool, any tool. Just gonna trace out my mold box into the clay here. I just bought all these tools, but you know what works great? A steel ruler. Tried and true. Kinda. Yo, anybody else suddenly want pizza? No, just me. I know I keep gushing about Monster Clay, but like, once again, not sponsored by it. I just really, really like the stuff. Okay, let's get you. I wonder. No. I was gonna go a little overboard and like leave the silicone out of the mold and but no. No. Just gonna weld around the outsides. Glue. The glue equivalent of welding. If only it were that easy with actual welding. But yeah, what I mean by that is, so I just cut this slab, and it's going to be the base of this mold box that I made, which turned out really cool. And it's just going around the edges and meeting the two pieces, and then blending them with the warmth and friction of my thumb, as if it were a welding torch. Just suppose if you wanted to be a badass about it, you could just heat up a wood burner. But, or a hot knife. But no, I'm not going to leave something like that running. Especially when I'm not using it. Weld this cap. I like how I keep saying weld, but that's what it is. Ironically, this whole mold making process has been the easiest part of this whole builds process so far. Everything outside of this has been the sometimes annoying task of acquiring the right materials you think you might need for something you've never made before, and planning and designing and redesigning and seeing something on YouTube that you didn't think of and will definitely work for your purposes, and then redesigning everything to apply to the... Yeah, this is fun. This is me playing with Play-Doh, essentially. I missed the... Oops, that's okay. Just as long as this is level. One thing I noticed when I finished pouring the first half of this mold's silicone was that the monster clay was not uniformly level around the edge somehow, even though I know I cut every slab to the same width. So yeah, I don't know what happened there, but it worked out. Yeah, I just got to make sure that silicone can't pour out of the sides. Come on, I got a piece of glue on me. So that gap there, I can't just smush closed. That's just a bad idea. I can hold it closed a little bit and kind of just glaze over the seam, but I'm gonna make a clay snake to kind of smush around that, just for the extra stability. Because the silicone seems rigid because of the container it's in. As soon as I took the silicone out of the clay, you could tell how flimsy it really was. Not flimsy, but silicone, for sure, silicone. So, not the most structurally sound stuff. Yeah, see the boxes just kind of cracking there along that seam, so where's that piece? Here. So, how are you? Something happened to this bit of monster clay. It's different. It's on the floor. That's what's different. Oh no. Well, that's another clump I'm leaving out of the actual brick of the stuff. covered in cat hair now. Yeah, it's even kind of lightened up in color or dulled in color for some reason. Strange. The mold box does not want to stay together. I need to heat up the whole thing for like 10 seconds just to really soften it and then let it cool. But I don't have time for that. It's never that easy. Oh, so great if it was, though. Oh, with this stuff, it's always something. All of the proper preparation in the world cannot always save your performance. That feels pretty solid to me. Let's do the same thing for the other side. I'm thinking of laying a really thin bead of. Oh, actually, I don't know if I can. Yeah. No, it should be okay. I'm gonna lay a thin. Well, I'm gonna make a thin snake of monster clay and just kind of seal the seam there where the clay meets the silicone. Definitely a disadvantage to using clay as the mold box is the clay is not great at being handled when it's got to maintain some kind of construction like this. So I'm happy that I'm able to even reuse it to this capacity and not have to completely remake it, which would have taken easily 2 to 3 times as long. Even with the slabs, I took my time with that. Also, it was the first one I ever made, so of course I took my time with it. But also, I do take my time with a lot of things. Yeah. Okay. So, silicone is all the way in there. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, the only thing I have to make sure is that the box isn't gonna pull away from the silicone in there, and I'm just gonna waste a whole bunch of rubber. So I'm gonna line the inside there, the interior, with just a little bit of a clay kind of gasket almost. And it'll also act as a really good indicator for the seam line. Line a little snake in there like that. And I know I've got a tool designed for this. That's cool. Start with a bigger one. And I'm just gonna lightly smush the clay. I've also got my finger behind the silicone to stop the tool from pushing the clay away from the silicone, but also like smash into place. Yeah. And this is also, this, like I was saying, also this is gonna make it, the seam between the two parts, extremely obvious, which will be helpful in taking it apart. Ooh, that's actually a good idea. I'm gonna have the paper clips stuck in the clay and position them where I need them to be, and then pour the silicone around them. Yeah. I'm not gonna call that big brain, but that's definitely brain. I could just as easily create a pour spout here from the tail to the fingers for the resin, but I am going to ensure that my first pull from my first silicone mold is going to be really, really good. I'm not going to say perfect, but I'm going to say that my first pull from my first mold is going to be on point with what it's supposed to be. Might need to add a little more clay to this side, but the general idea of what I want to accomplish, just make sure there's a seal in between the clay wall and the silicone wall. I don't want silicone pouring down the sides around the already cured silicone from last time and creating a seal. Seal. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. I need something to put on this silicone so when I pour the new silicone, they don't just bond and forever encase my facehugger in silicone. So I'm going to need to figure that out. I've seen people use Vaseline. I don't think I have any. That's not something I generally keep on hand. What else can be used? Also got to make sure it doesn't contaminate or get contaminated by anything in the monster clay or the silicone. What else can be used for seal release? I know when you're pouring and you're actually casting something, you can use baby powder, or they sell sprays specifically for casting stuff out of silicone, but it's kind of therapeutic, not gonna lie. Smooth this over a bit. Up. I'm also trying to think of where I just don't need silicone to be for this second part. Like unnecessary patches of silicone. I think it's safe to say that it's inevitable that there's going to be some silicone that seeps in between the clay and the mold. I don't think I can avoid it, just because of the nature of the box that I made. Temporary, not really structurally sound, although extremely recyclable. Yeah, just not very structurally dependable. It's having the opposite effect. I'm unintentionally pushing the mold out or pushing the box out. One or the other. So I'm almost done with this, and I hope whatever this is worth it. It was time consuming. Oh, that's a problem. I can already see where this isn't going to work. I can already tell that silicone's going to drip down into that. So push it on down a bit, while keeping pressure on the sides of the box. All this clay stays right where I smoosh it. Okay, I take it back. I'm just going to make a box next time. Now this is annoying and counterproductive. just to ensure I don't get any silicone seepage. There shouldn't be. Ugh. Annoying. I think that'll work. Yeah, so the mold box keeps like going in and out and shifting, and I can't keep it flush with the silicone, so yeah, kind of at a loss of what to really do about that, aside from ignore it and just hope for the best, like I did initially with this. Why does that keep happening, man? I keep seeing a gap form where I know I put material there. Like I know I did. So where did that material go? Did I really widen the box that much unintentionally? Put some more clay in there, but that's like all I can really do. I know my head's in the way. Sorry, but like. Okay. That's all the time I'm committing to that. Next. One more little clean out with some alcohol. Make sure there's not too much on the brush. This is just to make sure just none of the oils from my fingers are gonna mess with any of it. Okay, time to go back in, little man. Sorry. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, I did mention that, didn't I? That it might be a problem because I manipulated parts of the pose of this maquette to just be kind of how I wanted them to be. And now it's not naturally resting in the mold the way I set it in the mold. Popping out in some spots. I think I can get all the fingies to stay where they are. But the tail is trying to escape. And I only need it to be flush with what's exposed, so I can... What can I use to just tack this tail into place in a couple of... I push it into place and just hope that it stays, or do I actually have to MacGyver some stupid thing to get this to stay? Oh, nope. Yeah, no, it's gonna pop out of place every time. Damn! That's not good. That's not good at all. What can I do about that? Well, realistically, not a lot. I could cut the... No. I could use... Okay. Okay. A little bit of a problem. The tail of my facehugger does not want to stay in the silicone that I've embedded it in. And the reason for that is when I embedded it in monster clay in the first part of the mold, I manipulated the natural resting pose or T-pose of the little action figure, the little facehugger action figure. And when I did that, I essentially altered its resting state. So now that I've taken it out of that clay that was keeping it in a position, it wants to go back to its regular position that it came out of its original mold before I messed with it. And now it doesn't want to go back. I have an idea, and it's just crazy enough to work. And because this is so small, it might. So luckily, the fingers all stay where I needed them to stay. This bee of a tail, though, is not. It's because, like, just the wire in it is crooked or something's wrong. It didn't rest right in its initial mold when they first made it. Doesn't matter. What if this works? Not only will I be very happy, but maybe I found my own hack. I'm going to just very, very lightly run some of your basic purple craft stick glue tail. Lay this sucker down. I'm going to hold the tail down in the mold and hope that the glue at least... I don't need it to keep it there permanently, right? This is just to tack it and keep it in place while I cover it in silicone and the silicone cures. No, a really stupid thought just popped into my head and I don't want to share it with you. I'm going to hold this for a while just to ensure that the glue dries. Like, it's not super rigid plastic, so the pull of the tail wanting to, you know, assume its position shouldn't keep this from working. Put all the legs back in there. Damn it. I let go of the tail and the tail's popping up. Stay there. What's your problem? I gotta make this difficult. Why is it? Part of it looks like it's pulling away from the wall of the mold. Can't really tell though, can you? Yeah, so that slight bend in the tail is pulling away from the silicone, and that's not good. Although, at the end of the day, the silicone's going to occupy the negative space, making it part of the mold, and it won't translate in with the plastic, so... But no. Trying to do this right. But if this thing does not want to stay in the silicone where it's supposed to, then got a bit of a problem. Yeah, didn't work. Well, it didn't work for a segment. The rest of the tail is staying in. It's just this one stubborn midsection that doesn't want to just stay put. All right, I gotta pop it out again. Not gonna work. So annoying. I really thought the Elmer's glue would do it. I'm gonna try it again. Like, it worked on the tail, but I think it's just because the plastic is just so thin. I'm just glad the fingers all kinda stayed where I needed them to. One of them's kind of popping up a little bit, but I also have to figure out how I'm going to tack the tips of paper clips to the tips of each of these fingies as my spillage, my little spillage vents for making sure the fingers all get resin in them. I can see a little bit of the glue. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I've resorted to using a glue stick to the backside of this maquette to keep it in the silicone, keep it from popping out of the silicone base. Which, knock on wood, looks like it's working. But just to be sure, I'm gonna just chill here for a minute. I don't know how long it's been. Yeah, I think it worked. I don't think it's popping up. The tail's a little twisted, but I think it's twisted where I kind of placed it. Yep, it is just kind of going to the side towards the end of the tail a little bit, which is the way it's leaning on that. So, okay, so that's perfectly normal for this anyway. It stay where it is. Oh, wow, that worked. Holy crap. It frickin' worked. That's awesome. Okay. Where I'm putting where I'm gonna pour, I'm not technically gonna pour this resin. I'm technically gonna try to plunger it in and force all of the resin into this. For some stupid reason, I decided to put a registration key right there. So, not really sure what to do about that. I just ignore it or make the pour spout over it. I don't know. Make it part of the pour spout. No, that's just gonna like catch resin where I don't want to catch it. Okay. I'm gonna make this spout a cone that thins the closer it gets to the tail. This way I have the option to either pour it or use a plunger and plunge it in. My biggest thing is making sure that the resin gets into the tip of every single creepy ass fingy on this guy. And the best way to ensure that is to actually pump the thing full of resin when I'm making the copy. Why did I put a registration key at the end of the tail? Oh no, the tail bumped up. No. Oh, damn you, Elmer's glue. I'm gonna have to figure something out for that. That's a problem. This section of the tail keeps bumping out of the silicone because the plastic's just bending in a weird way, and that can't happen. It's not good. I'm not really sure what to do about that at present moment. I could stick something in the silicone to like brace it in there. I don't want to do that either though. That's a problem. Staying in everywhere else though. It's just this one stupid little segment in the middle there that doesn't want to play nice. All right, pour spout. I'm thinking like that. Yeah, and then there's a registration key under it, though. That's stupid. Hold on. Why did I do that? That was really silly. I don't know why I did that. It's all right, though. Oh, you know what I can do? I can just actually just cut out parts of that little bit of silicone in there and make the pour spout that way. But why I decided to make a little registration divot there, I don't know. I wasn't really thinking that far ahead. All right. No, I'm going to make it so the only way to put silicone in this is to plunge it in, because come on, let's do this. I'm going to cut the pour spout after the silicone's done, I think. The only thing I'm going to do for sure now, though, is make just the smallest connection between this registration key, which I'm commandeering as a pour spout marker, as to where I'm going to start cutting silicone out of both parts. So I'm going to occupy this space with clay, and so stopping it from being occupied by silicone. And that might work. Probably gonna have to end up like cutting my own into it anyway. And then yeah, when the both parts of the silicone are good, I'm just gonna cut the spout away from that. Just gotta make sure just enough of the monster clay comes in contact with the tail. No. I'm so silly. Why did I do that? Whole thing's popping out now. Maybe I needed something a little stronger than purple stick. a silly looking pour spout, but it's only got to do one thing. Let resin into the mold. Oh, this is getting annoying and time consuming, and it's not working out how I was supposed to. Okay. Come on. Dude, like, why isn't the tail staying down? Like, what do I have to do? Super glue it in place? Can't do that. Ugh. Come on, man. This is killing me. Like, the tension in the plastic of the toy is stronger than adhesive, so it's just gonna keep popping out, and I'm not sure what to do about that. It's gonna trap. It's gonna encase the tail in silicone and trap the facehugger in silicone, and I'm gonna have to cut it out, and that mold is useless. So yeah. Not really sure what to do about that. Unless, like I said, I just cut a tiny piece of metal, just kind of wedge it in there as a placeholder, kind of like a brace. Okay, screw it. That's what I got to do to get this done. Glue's not doing it. Okay, so I need to clip it on its side. Some pliers. Any pliers other than those? Man. Well, lesson learned. If you're making a copy of something that's a little out of shape, you can't fix it by trying to straighten it in a silicone mold. That's not how that's going to work. Because then you have to do that. But is that going to keep the seal for the rest of it? No, because the rest of the tail is also popping out of the mold. Okay, I'm going to cut another little piece and just do the same thing for the edge of the end of the tail there. So there's going to be these two little bars in the mold. I can probably just get rid of that silicone once the mold is, done. I can just kind of clip it out. Hopefully it doesn't leave any kind of... Holding the tail down with another paper clip. It's so silly, but it worked. So I clipped little pieces of the ends of paper clips, and I created little just brackets to pierce into one side of the silicone and then across into the other to keep this maquette facehugger from popping out. And just need to reseal that impromptu pour spout I put in place. Make sure that's down and thick enough. Yeah, I think so. Make sure it comes in contact with the model. And okay, I don't think there's anything else I can do to make this thing silicone ready, besides push down all of these bits here to ensure a seal. And then after that, I'm throwing caution to the wind, mixing up some silicone, and we're just going to cross our fingers and hope that my first mold is as successful as I hope it will be. The other thing I need to do before that, though, is I need to, at the tip of each finger, place the relief spout things. So just a rough measurement from the clay to that finger. Okay, got an idea. So the width of this paper clip should be wide enough to have resin flow through it freely, I'm hoping. I'm going a little rogue, and my little seep spouts are going to be coming out of the side of the mold, just because that's an easier way for me to position this part. Let me just do this. Get at it from a different angle here. I want this paper clip to be in the clay just until it makes contact with the end of the digit that I'm assigning it to. Just make sure that it's making good contact with the action figure. And it's just so there's as little cleanup as possible. That should be good. Yeah, And so, just to reiterate, what's going to happen is resin's going to be plunged into the mold from the tail, going down and out, and at the end of each finger is going to be essentially like a relief pipe, kind of, sort of. I don't know the technical word for it, but it's going to be guaranteed way to know that the resin reached every gross little finger. Because when it does, it's going to come spewing out of the tips of these fingers out the side of the mold. So the task at hand is just making sure that each of these comes into good contact with the action figure's fingertips. Yes, you can call them fingertips. Oh, I also don't want them as part of the seam. So silicone is going to go around these and form pipes, essentially. I really don't need to get too crazy with the positioning. It really just needs to come in contact with the creepy ass fingernails that these things have. Now this is crazy enough to work. Do I have enough paperclip? I bet I had to waste some on the tail. Still can't believe I had to do that. It worked. It's just unfortunate because now, like, those little pieces of metal are going to be in the mold. But only one of them is, well, no. It'll be easy. They'll be easy to, like, clip off of the casting. It's not like a huge deal. It doesn't ruin the mold. Let's put it that way. Okay. Hopefully this part works. Never seen this done. I've seen people use like tappers, and they'll punch holes in the silicone after, which I guess I could also do, but I don't think I have what I would need to cut through the silicone well enough to make an opening that would actually allow resin to flow freely. So I'm not going to try that. But this has a slightly higher chance of working. And yeah, I'm going to run out of it. How'd that happen? Just have so many. Yeah, I'm a little short of paperclip. Might have one or two more hiding around, stashed somewhere, but it's not something I regularly keep stocked. I don't often need paper clips. Oh. If I had something that could reliably tap holes into the silicone instead of me trying to cast silicone around the spill spouts, whatever, trust me, I would use it. And so should you if you have one. I just don't, so I'm doing this manually. Paperclip, paperclip. If I were a paperclip. Ruh-roh. Repurposing this from something else. Out a little bit. Yeah. Okay, one more, and we're done with this part, at least. Where did I get that piece of? Oh. Anyone else keep their scroll saw blades on their desk? No, just me. That's kind of creepy looking. Got to make sure the end of each paper clip is coming into contact with the, for lack of a better word, fingernail of each of the facehugger.
That is how my excess resin is going to escape. Could have just stuck paper clips in the silicone after this was done, couldn't I? Yes. Uh, that might actually just be... No, because then this is too thin. So if these were a little wider, if I was making, if I was doing this for something bigger with a larger gauge wire, then yeah, I would just pierce the silicone with these at each fingertip after the silicone was poured. I just kicked myself for just thinking of that now, but then I'm also considering how thin this gauge is, and using anything more is just going to be counterproductive. Using anything a thicker wire. So yeah, I guess this really is the only way I could have done this for this particular model. I guess I just don't know how silicone reacts when it's like punctured with something. Does it, does the material get removed, or do you have to tap it? And I'm pretty sure the only time I've seen anyone do that to silicone after the fact, they had to tap it. Sorry. And I don't have that. I don't have a thing that I can drive into the silicone and remove a cylindrical amount of material to allow some other material to pass through. So this is what I have on hand. It just sucks because these paper clips move out of position for like no reason. And even if these don't connect after the pour, I can just take the head of a thumbtack and just kind of remove just the tiniest bit of material, silicone, to allow the connection. All right, I don't really know what else to do except hit this with some mold release and pour some silicone. So, right, pour spout kind of planned. Registration keys, I have a couple. What else? Cleaned it as best I could with isopropyl, even though just got it all gross and grimy again, but just gonna have to deal with that. Just make sure the whole thing looks sealed. I'm not gonna have any silicone pour out all over onto my floor from anywhere. Make sure there's no weak spots. Oh, wow, yeah, that side's totally cracked open. See? Good thing I checked. Gotta smooth that all over. I'd say there's a pretty good chance of this working out how I think it's going to, which I usually can't talk about my projects with that much confidence, so yeah. Let's fix this one. So these all will be spilling out right underneath the fingernail. The idea, anyway. Come on. Just gotta make sure they are placed in the right positions. Close some of these holes. We're not gonna have any leaks. Come on. All right. I think that's all the love this thing's getting from me as far as prep goes, because I can't. Any more preparation I do is just going to be folding in on itself at this point. So I think it's finally time to just mix some silicone, guys. Finally. Let's put you to the side. Oh no. Math again, guys. So, I was supposed to get a volumetric. I was supposed to get a volume for the amount of space part 2 of this of the silicone mold occupies. so that I could pour a accurate amount without wasting any. But I don't know if I can get a proper measurement. I didn't record how much silicone I actually used. But if all of that needed like what, 160 something grams, I can't imagine that needing more than let's see, how much did I actually end up pouring? 81.5 milliliters or 70 grams. I don't remember. No, it wasn't enough. So let's pour. What can I do with any extra that I have? Anything silly I can do? And cover something else in silicone. Or pour it into something and make a. You know what I would really love to do? I have some spare pieces somewhere. Yeah. It would be really cool to make just a cylindrical tube of silicone that I can cut and put over something like wire or a hinge, or I wonder if this silicone will even bend over like a ball and socket joint. Some other projects that I want to work on involve mixing silicone and other stuff to some pretty cool results. Yeah, I'm just gonna plug it with monster clay. That should be fine. The key word is should. Do I have anything relatively closely shaped to the inner diameter? Yeah, cool. Just gonna use this. Just gonna use the wrong side of this knife as a fuck. Smart. There we go. What I'm gonna do is with the excess silicone that I'm gonna have, I'm going to pour it into this little piece of PVC and hopefully make something useful out of it. I just gotta stop it from falling over in the meantime. Plus, also, this will be good for like using, I can cut it into little discs and use it as registration keys for something else. It'll be good to have. Okay. Back to action. According to our notes from last time, I used 81.5 milliliters of part A and equal parts B. I'm not going to need that much, so 70 gram part A and B. Collectively, what's 81 milliliters? Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, that's 81. Yeah. I'd say half that. I would say half. So 116. I'm just gonna do 40 and 40. I think that might be okay. That sounds kind of okay to me. See my bony ass knees. Paper towel. Oh. And a sleeve of a t-shirt. Yeah. Good. So what did I say? 40 milliliters? 40 milliliters. And before I mix these, I have to find something to use as mold release. Just so the silicone halves don't silicone to each other. All right, that is part A. Just a hair under. Come on. Perfect. Okay, part A and part B are poured. I just need. Do I have anything on hand I can use as mold release? What can be used as mold release? Vegetable oil, like the ones used to cook, can be used. A variety of substance can be used as mold releases. Fluoropolymers, such as PTFE, these are popular choice for mold release. I think that's the spray stuff I see everybody using. Polysiloxanes, also known as silicones. These are another common mold release agent. Solvent-based agents. These contain active silicone or wax ingredients and are applied with solvents like mineral oil, xylene, acetone, or toluene. No acetone. Petroleum jelly. This porous surface sealer can be used with silicone rubber products, especially useful for silicone to silicone applications. Homemade roll mold release. You can make a homemade mold release by diluting castor oil with rubbing alcohol. Plastic release wedges. These can be used to remove medium to large parts from a mold. Mold release agents are typically applied by spraying them onto the substrate or housing. I need to hit the housing. So, mineral oil, good for petroleum. I thought, can you use Vaseline? Vegetable oils, like the ones used to cook, can be used as mold release agents. You can rub the oil into the mold with a paper towel. Mineral oil can be used in the same way as other types of oil. If too much oil is used, some of the mold's details may be covered by pools of oil. Ugh. What can I use in place of mold? Vaseline and baby powder. As long as you get the entire surface coated, any type of mold release will work. Vaseline and baby powder are frequently recommended for use old release, because those are products that most people either already have or can easily get for fairly cheap at their local stores. So I have baby powder, body powder. Is there a difference? Talcum, right? Hurricane Milton has been upgraded to a Category 5 with a sustained wind of 167 miles per hour. Oh yeah, there's a hurricane coming towards my apartment. Leslie has been upgraded. Category 1. I didn't even know Leslie was a thing. Outstanding. Oh, a bunch of you guys liked my story. Thanks. Alright, I gotta find baby powder. Hold on. Stand by. This is definitely not the weirdest question I've ever asked you. Do we have Vaseline? Use some?
Yes. How much do you need?
The whole thing.
Oh, I don't have a whole thing.
No, I'm just gonna. I need to apply a little bit with like a brush. I don't need a lot. It's just to coat the inside of half the silicone mold. I'm literally like
Here you go.
brushing on a microscopic amount. Thank you. I'm definitely not doing anything else behind closed doors with it.
Okay.
I got Vaseline. We can just dab this on with a brush, right? Right? Yeah. Why not? It seems like the easiest way to, or the most efficient way to get it to cover everything that I want to cover with it. I need a crappy old brush. I know I told you would never have to hear me rummaging through the tool cabinet again. I lied. Crappy brush. Crappy brush. Brush. Crappy brush. Crappy brush. I've been in the studio for too long today. Okay. No, I'm fine. So the idea is to get it on everything. All the silicone surface needs to get covered in this crap. Otherwise, the silicone is just going to bond to the silicone. And then all I have done is spent all this time to encase a scaled facehugger action figure in a block of silicone. So I'm just going to brush silicone onto the surface of the silicone. I'm going to brush petroleum jelly onto the surface of the... You know what I'm saying. I could press it on with my finger, but this is probably the better option for getting guaranteed coverage. Just do the maquette while I'm in there. I'll try to go from one side to the other so we don't lose track of where I am. I'm not too keen on the smell of Vaseline. Reminds me of the Boy Scouts. I mean, make sure I don't knock any of our delicate paper clips out of position. I'm definitely gonna get some silicone trapped under the lip of the it's a shame. Now the real insurance that I don't glue these two blocks of silicone together is to hit it with baby powder on top of the Vaseline. I'm not gonna go that nuts, but I could. Certainly could. I don't think anyone would blame me for thinking it's a good idea. You know, I want this to work out. I don't want to have to be like, yeah, you know, I tried making a silicone mold and it just wasn't. Something went wrong and I didn't want to. But I don't think I could watch one more Steady Craft and Craftsman video or Rob Jerome video without trying this for myself. I was also inspired by Craftsman to try this and also to try another project that I've got in mind that I'm not gonna spoil yet, but Craftsman worked on something years ago which piqued my interest because it involved a very, very special little bit of nostalgia for me. And so I decided to explore that nostalgia a little bit, and I found that I can do something very similar to what he did in an episode with silicone and resin. So I'm going to try something like that. Sorry, my head was in the way the entire time. And if this works out and it turns out I'm competent and I can pull this off confidently, then yeah, there's something that is a little yeah, you can call it a passion. It's a passion project. I guess you can call every project I do a passion project because it's usually involving some kind of nostalgia or something that I really, really enjoy. All right. I think that's all the Vaseline I can really put on there, man. It looks okay to me. No way to find out, but I mean, yeah. Fortunately. You aside and that aside. All right. I'm gonna pour. I guess I'm gonna pour A into B. I don't remember what the exact working time on this was, but I didn't even come close to running out of time last time. And I was working with twice as much material, so I'm not setting a timer. I got enough timers in my life during the day outside of the shop. Yeah, that's good. Almost spill silicone everywhere. Oh. Okay, now I'm going to pour into the third cup as suggested. Or I should say highly recommended. It's like all the little stuff that is recommended involving crafting and making and fabricating and all that. It's for a reason. Somebody came up with it. Like, I know this does decrease the chance of your silicone failing due to improper mix, so again, we're gonna do the same thing we did. Hello. Let's see if can I set up a cool shot? Let me see. Let me see. Let me zoom into mostly this on this side. How's that look? Does that look okay? I mean, it's as good as it's gonna look, I guess. Oh, it's right under the camera. It's okay. He's fine. We make it work. The silicone is setting while I'm not pouring it. Okay. Hope I used enough Vaseline. Okay, from a high pour. High-ish. Front row. Did I not mix enough? Did I do it again? I did it again. Oh no. Really need to mix more on the fly. I think I do. What did I do? 80 milliliters total? Oh, it's like right on the. Actually, no. It's. Oh, It's not level. That's why it looks weird. I gotta prop up this a little bit. I got any wedges? I don't have any table wedges anywhere handy. Okay. Popsicle sticks are gonna have to do. Yeah, the desk isn't level. So of course the mold's not gonna be level. Shouldn't need much correction though. But yeah, it is the back end here, it's right up to the edge. Where are the rest of the popsicle sticks? How do I not have door wedges handy? I kept them in the shop for the longest time. Door wedge shims. In case you didn't know what the hell I was talking about, door wedges. What about shims? I think one more popsicle stick on each ought to do it. Should really be doing this where it's gonna cure. I think I even have a level somewhere. Hold on, guys. Yeah. Okay. All right, well, you don't need to see me like level the thing. Oh no, silicone. I lost some silicone. No, I wasn't paying attention. I lost some silicone. Oh, I'm gonna have to make a note. I'm silly. Can't believe I just did that. Oh, I would have lost some anyway. Yeah, I would have lost some anyway, cause yeah. I mean, if I really want to, I could like try scooping some of it back in, but I'm not. So one little mold like that used about half the silicone on it. I didn't have enough to do this thing. That's okay. I'd rather have mixed too little than too much anyway. But cool. All right, so that's gonna cure for a while, good long while. Garbage. Can't reuse the plastic cups, which I'm really unhappy about. If anyone's got some suggestion for cups to mix silicone in and be reusable, I'm all ears. It's just because it's this when the parts are still just parts, removing one is hard, but when it's cured silicone, it just, peels off for the most part. Mm, actually, I think I might be pouring more. No. I got a little bit of silicone spillage that I gotta clean up. So I will be right.
Guess where you just got into cool guy zone.
Silicone is fun, but it is messy. Really, really messy and gooey. I don't like how it feels. Got a weird. I mean, it's silicone, so it's got crazy viscosity, and I'm not. Ugh. Luckily, I didn't get it completely everywhere, and the mold is like up to the brim. So, mission accomplished. That was cool. Part B, part 2 of the 2-part mold is done. The next time you see that sucker on screen will be I would very much like to be casting something out of it the next time you guys see it, the next time I mess with it. I already got the smooth cast. I didn't get any like pigment for the smooth cast or anything. I guess I could. I guess I should. It's just like white, like basic white plastic, liquid plastic. So that's always something I could do. I would choose like mix just a little bit of black in there to get like a primer kind of gray look to start, and then paint from there. But what I need to talk about next, though, is the actual prop. Well, not actual prop, but like the crawling one first. I guess we'll talk about. Remember this guy? Remember him? That's what's left of it. Yeah. Kind of went a little nuts. And for some reason, I decided to just remove every bit of unnecessary plastic for the moment that I could, just to get a better idea of how everything kind of rests and sits and how the shell works. And yeah, I got all that information. So I really didn't need to do all this, but it was a nice way of tearing it down. So I could better plan out how I want some of these components to go back together. So we got a rechargeable battery, we got the little sound module, which I would like to experiment with if there's time. We have less than 4 weeks to finish this, so we'll see. It's got a couple of LED lights that I might switch out for motors of some kind, and it even came with collision sensors. So the motor can alternate, which is awesome. The input can make it crawl that way or can make it crawl that way. Crawls on these wheels, input from the motor. And what I have been doing this whole time, hold on, let me move some crap around. Don't worry about that. Or that. You have no idea. You have no idea what's been going on behind the scenes. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. No, it's been longer than that, actually. But I don't know, you may have noticed the wall of Facehugger. That is my little reference spot. So, just the plan is to kind of, I think I've talked about this. I'm going to reconstruct this a little bit using the core of everything, basically really just the motor and the wheels. Chassis and all that, whatever else you want to call it, is going to have to be kind of rebuilt from the ground up, which is I wasn't planning on having to do that, but if it's what I got to do to make the prop work, it's what I got to do. So I'm prepared to do that, I guess. It's basically making a toy. But what I wanted to do initially was give this thing facehugger legs. And first session we ever did of this build was spent getting reference material and the outline. The other thing I didn't really go over, I didn't record it or live stream it, is my favorite way to, hold on. My favorite way to test if some kind of mechanism that I'm making for a prop, as long as it's pretty basic, only 1 or 2 actions, poster board and like either Chicago screws like I use, or push pins, or cardstock, like making actual. Is this one solid? Hold on. Making a 2D proof of concept, right? Yeah. And how that starts, or where that starts, I should say, is with the mechanics that are given to me. I draw out all the pieces onto a piece of paper. Granted, you can do all this in a computer. You don't need to draw anything. You can, scan it or pick the shapes, or is a lot easier and a lot more environmentally friendly compared to using, dozens of sheets of printer paper to alter designs. But this was the first successful one, finally, after actually functioned really cool. Like, they actually put some clever design into this. I'm sure it's from something else, but still, like, whatever they did. This whole assembly, I don't really need to change anything. I'm taking the legs, the legs assembly, so this arm and the pairs of legs in between each, and I'm splitting it, or duplicating it rather, and I'm creating an axis on an axle on either side to have 3 legs on each. So it's widening it, and it's going to keep this input and this drive and this point just with different hardware going to a different action. And all of those original mechanics are what's going to drive the monstrosity that I'm going to turn it into. And this proof of concept is using the same measurements as the physical piece. So if I put this in designer software to see if it actually functions, I should get the same exact results using the same exact measurements. I had to learn a lot. I had to look up how levers and gear ratios work. So that was fun. A little self-enlightening there. It was nice. The one thing I realized about that particular design, though, it was too big, it was too bulky, and it was too high off the ground. And what I mean by that rather, is if you look at the Alien movies, if you watch the Alien movies, the facehuggers tend to walk off the ground. I thought their bellies were a little more low to the ground, kind of like like spiders. But no, they're kind of more like this. They're kind of up. So the design had to change a lot in order to get this guy to not be noticeable on the ground. I would have had to mold these wheels, recast them in clear resin, and choose a resin that'll actually be good for that kind of part and that kind of tension and weight, and then also to support all of this, and then cast every single other part that's going to be visible underneath the facehugger in invisible resin. And I was just like, I don't want to do that. It's going to look silly to have this guy just floating off the ground and have like a motor box guiding him along. So I figured, for the sake of IRL realism compared to screen accuracy, we're going to go with what's going to look best in real life. And what's going to look best in real life is not this. This was the next design after that. I scaled it down to be more close to the maquette that this one's based on. And I didn't like it because it's so high off the ground. Like, I know it doesn't look like a lot, but this is the profile of it. It's going to be coming straight at you. You're going to see these two arms, you know, going like this, but you're also going to see this giant, granted clear, but still, it's going to be a big gearbox on the ground underneath this thing. So, what I ultimately decided with was the third iteration, which I only just finished yesterday. This one involves the facehugger being closer to the ground with shorter mechanism. The leg is going to be a little more down instead of like arced upward, you know, maybe a little flatter. But I think that might add to the creepy factor, because this thing is going to be jittering along, right? It's going to be going along the floor just as fast as the toy crab did, and I'm not really adding much material, so it should be able to keep the same speed that it did, even on the slower setting that it has. And so there's going to be just 6 of these legs in alternating motions, going along with the motion of the momentum of the toy. So like, I've been visualizing it this whole time, and this setup from, you know, what's going to make you think about if it's real out of the corner of your eye or at first glance more. It high off the ground with the giant wheel possibly visible, ruining the illusion, or a smaller assembly closer to the ground with no real visual indication that it's fake. I think that's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be creepy. I'm also going to try to quiet it. This thing clacks around like crazy, but it's really all the, you know, it's the plastic on plastic that you're hearing. This thing is also so unstable. I removed a couple screws that I shouldn't have, but it would have kept it wider than I wanted it to be, and I really wanted to get a good idea. Not a good idea. I wanted to see if I could save this, the chassis part at least. I can't. Just the how thick the body is going to be and where it's going to be in relation to the rest of it. Oh well, I guess no, because this is going to be kind of like the center of the face of it. I mean, with the design being closer to the ground like that. This is just a placeholder for what the body's going to actually look like, but no, I'm going to have to, no. I'm basically not going to be able to save any of this except the motor and the rest of the electronics. Everything else must go. But that's not a problem. That's not a problem. This is not going to be the first thing that I've had to make like a chassis kind of deal for. Oh, before I forget, this is what it's going to look like with both sides. I know it's kind of hard to tell with the mechanical pencil lines, but that's how I draw these initially, and then I move into ink before I scan it into a computer or anything. These are the segments of the leg that I determined I like the dimensions of, the lengths and whatever. This is essentially what the leg is. Like, it's probably going to be styrene with, like, this whole shape will be cut out in styrene, and then probably a piece of like armature wire for just stability, and then the rest of it's just gonna be EVA foam, and then probably this point and this point are going to be on like an ABS plastic shaft kind of deal. And then I'm using 3 segments of 3mm stainless steel rod as the new assembly axles. And then for the casing and not the casing, but like the structure of the body and everything to like hold everything together, nothing's gonna go flying apart. Just gonna use sheets of ABS plastic, nothing fancy, nothing crazy hard, or it doesn't need to be. I do need it to be lightweight though, but I also need it to be able to be stacked and glued together and potentially tapped with like a small M3 screw if I double it up. Yeah. So that's where I've been. That's what I've been doing. I've been messing around with this in the background. This is the above of the design. And these are all like the 4th and 5th editions of these designs. That's why it took me so long. I had to redraw it, and I had to fine tune, and I had to nitpick as to what design I really wanted to go after. And I really couldn't decide if I wanted to maintain screen accuracy or go for practicality of the prop and its functionality. And so that's why, in the end, I decided to go with 2. We're making 2 completely different facehuggers from different scales, from different maquettes. The crawling one, I'm using the more stylized maquette. That's going to be this guy from Figma. Came with the Figma Big Chap. It's just a little more stylized, looks a little more illustrated compared to the more screen accurate one, which is just, it's creepy, but without any kind of context, it's boring. But when it's on your face and it looks real, then, different story. But this is what essentially the body of it is going to look like. I need to make a frame that's going to be able to contain all this stuff. Each one of the existing points in, or on rather, the toy are going to be repurposed for each one of the legs. And like I said, this central assembly here, this zigzag and alternating lengths of legs to simulate crawling, I'm going to divide into 2. So I'm basically just recreating the assembly, having it, and having it only face one way instead of going both. And the input from this is still going to the actions are just translating to different points. It's not, not doing anything too crazy. Let me move this 2D placeholder real quick. Like that's kind of what a rough design of what the forward-facing profile looks like. But yeah, this took so much trial and error, and I'm sure I could have done it, not even a little, but significantly faster on a computer. I just don't have the time and energy to learn a new software and try to stay active with all of this other stuff. So this is what I wound up doing because this is what I know how to do. And I actually really like this process. It's intimate. You get to know the ins and outs of everything you're working with instead of, looking at it for the first time physically. So I don't know. It's preference. It's all up to preference. It has nothing to do with which way is better. There is some efficiency involved, obviously, but a difference in efficiency. But that's where we're at. Before I cut any plastic, I just need to decide exactly where that extra assembly is going to be, where the leverage is going to come from. Would it be easier to just have each leg have its own little axle and have its own arm attached to it? I'm not sure. All I do know is that I do need to adjust this point because I can't have it right here in the middle. I mean, I could, but it's going to be too much to have an arm come out to this to one point and then bend outward to this point to another axle. It's like I'm going above and beyond. Then I might, if I'm going to go through that, I might as well have it do a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a couple other little animations that I have been toying with. So the eyes of the original toy had these little LEDs in them, right? So they're getting a signal. The LEDs, they're coded to flash. I don't know if it's the LEDs themselves. I don't think it's the LEDs themselves. I hope actually it's the chip telling them to do that. If not, my idea is not going to work. But I want to figure out a way to use those existing contacts, essentially for the forward-facing mandible fingers, fronty grabby fingers. And so, while the other 6 legs are doing this and, you know, kind of dodging around doing stuff, I want the 2 front legs to be doing this, really coming at you. Totally different cycle of animation, different movement, so it looks as erratic and vicious and chaotic as it does in the movies and the games. The other thing I wanted to do, like I said, I started doing a lot of research into like gear ratios. I didn't know I was gonna have to learn any of this stuff, but I found some really cool tutorials, and I found assemblies that I didn't even know existed. I can design a way for the tail to even have a little bit of animation involved, and it's going to use existing input from the motor anyway. Like I'm not adding tension. The only tension that is being added is, you know, splitting this into 2 and creating 2 assemblies. It's going to double the workload that this little motor has to do. It doesn't seem to struggle all that much as it is. I'm still gonna have to do some weight tests at some point eventually, though. But the axis coming out, let's see. So the actual input from the motor is gonna have to be pushed up a little bit away from the wheelhouse thing, but the axle of the wheelhouse that isn't, it's spinning. It's free, like, you know, it's being held in place, kind of like a wheel well, but the actual little stainless steel peg is spinning freely the whole time in there. So I figured I can build off of that, fabricate a flexible facehugger tail around a already kind of whirled wire, not curled, but like just wavy wire, but like almost in a very spread out spiral, and have it rotate. But it's going to be inside the tail, so the tail essentially is just going to be a skin over whatever wire I have attached to a motor that's going to be spinning. And so if you have it in a sleeve, it's essentially just going to be doing this, like whipping around while it's coming at you. Everything on this thing is going to move, except the weird little lung pouches. I'm not messing with that. That's a whole nother, nope. I don't have I'm sure I could just get a couple little motor servos to just do this, but I don't need to. It only does that when it's on somebody's face anyway, and the one that's going on my face is not going to have any animatronics. The only thing I might do with the facehugger is I might make a silicone what do you call it? It's the part of it's the delivery system of the facehugger. The only thing I can see myself doing is carving that out of monster clay and making a cast of it in silicone and having that kind of wiggle around when I take it off my face. But I don't that might be too far. Not that this channel is monetized, but I don't know how they feel about me making just silicone appendages of any kind. So I can't get into cutting plastic today, but I'm stoked that I finally got the second half of the mold poured. I've been waiting on that for a while. Oh, I almost completely forgot, and I took it out for that exact reason. Putting the mechanical facehugger aside, the animatronic. Can you call it an animatronic? I mean, technically, right? Technically, I'm modifying an animatronic. That's cool. Add that to my resume. 35 years of the one on my face, I want it to be posable. Yeah. And there's going to be probably like like clear elastic in between each fingers that's going to help it stay on my face, but I want each leg to be free and posable. Well, how are you going to do that? It's going to be a static prop, for the most part covered in tissue and latex and neoprene and EVA foam layers and all this. It's going to be really light, but how am I going to make it pose? Well, I had talked about in the last discussion about designing this that I wanted it to be rigid enough to, I don't know, just not break easily. So, talked about using PVC last time, and I'm still on board with that. Still going to use PVC or mostly CPVC with maybe some 1/2-inch PVC bored out so it can fit this telescopically. But I think I talked about these already, but I found these things, and I've seen them used elsewhere, but I never really understood their functionality until I saw Adam Savage's crazy ass make LED mounts with these. And essentially what they are is they're flexible pipe, right? Is the best way I can describe it. It's a pain in the ass to pull apart and get together, push back together, which is also perfect. Let me get a smaller piece as an example. This stuff. Like it's essentially a pipe of ball and socket joints. Like it's just you can just it's awesome. I loved this crap as a kid, and I love it even more as an adult because now I get to make cool shit with it, right? So what I'm thinking is, well, that might be good for the first half of the tail or something to make completely out of that stuff. But what about each individual knuckle? Well, I mean, does this remind you of anything? All right, a little weird looking socket thing. Do I have a picture handy? I almost always have reference material handy. Rip it off the wall. So if you look at the segments at the knuckles of each of the facehugger, it almost looks like a ball and socket joint, right? Okay, but what about the thickness? Well, these essentially are all just the same piece connected to each other. What if you split it and reshaped it to be as thin as the facehugger leg, which coincidentally is pretty darn close to a 1/2-inch CPVC. So my plan is, and hear me out, the plan is to cut this in half. All right, so I have the receiving end and the giving end, the ball and socket, male and female end, whatever. Cut it in half. I have one end and the other end. And then I'm going to use this, put on that, and one going out of that. Mold them separately with this PVC coupling in it, right? So the piece that I cast will be able to coupling into another piece of CPVC, and I only have to destroy one of these to make all 6, and in resin, just to recast them myself, just to have just the part for myself. I'm going to modify this to act as a knuckle for the facehugger, and this thing's got pretty good range of posability. So I'm pretty sure as long as I get the width of the body right and it doesn't go past my face, it should be able to bend all of its weird little fingers around my head pretty convincingly. And then also be able to be posed in an action pose when I'm not wearing it on my face. So like the functionality, that's like my biggest thing with making any of the stuff that I make, is like I love functionality. I love moving. I love just anything I can do to make it interactable. That's the word. I want people to be able to interact with it. I want to let people hold the thing that I made and pose it and play with it, and then, you know. So yeah, I can't just make something static. I don't think I ever could. The static stuff that I've made are my least favorite. So if it's got a moving jaw or moving ears or moving arms or a moving part, I am so much more enthusiastic about it. And can you blame me? So the only other thing is with, as far as cutting ABS, you may be able to tell that the stuff's pretty chewed up. That is because the only thing I have to cut any kind of plastics is the handy dandy jeweler saw. Yeah, this is what I've cut everything out of so far. I did get a little hand hobby tool saw that has like a blade for metal, because I am going to have to cut these stainless steel rod to act as the second axis that the second assembly is going to leverage off of. But I mean, everything's laid out. Like, the only thing I've really been procrastinating on is getting tired of drawing the same thing over and over again, which I finally am. So now I can actually work on the physical fabrication of some of this stuff. Not all of it, but some of it. I've been going for about 3.5 hours today. So I'm thinking I'm going to pick this back up as soon as I possibly can. Now that second part of the mold is curing, I have a little bit of something, you know, at least being worked on in the background simultaneously with this other thing. The build kind of has to be done parallel with the other. So the animatronic kind of has to be built at the same pace, if I can help it, as the prop. Yeah. Everything seems to be pretty planned out. On paper, both should be done. I'm gonna make a schedule and try to plan it out, just to set some not deadlines. Let's call them progress points. I'm gonna set up a basic schedule with some ambitious progress points, and we'll just try to stay on that between now and Samhain, Halloween. We shall see. I work better under pressure anyway. All right, thank you so much for stopping by. As always, I appreciate you and the few of you that checked me out while I was live streaming and popped in to say hi. Thank you so much. Hello again. And I hope y'all are doing well wherever you're at. I do have a tendency to fall off the face of the earth for a week or two every now and again, but that's usually because I'm working on something or procrastinating. So sorry. I don't know how regular of a YouTuber I'm gonna be or how dependable of a live streamer I'm gonna be. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll probably see you tomorrow.